So, Seth, how's it been? Full time now? You got almost a full week under your belt since.
This will be 3 days.
That's close.
You're halfway through.
You're more than
It's another 4 days. It's not even halfway.
Well, it's a work week. See,
Fair enough. Work week.
You haven't been full time, so I got to explain to you what a work week is. It's just Monday through
I know
Friday.
what a work
You don't
week
count
is,
the
Caleb.
weekends.
Caleb, I know what a work week is. It's just usually I work beyond the work week.
Yeah.
So
Beyond.
To the work week and beyond.
to the work week.
How's your coffee?
Pretty good, actually.
Good.
It's like
Good,
donut
good,
shop
good.
stuff.
That
good.
11 a.m. coffee.
Listen, yeah, it's 11 a.m. coffee.
Do you realize I've been up since 4 o'clock this morning? The idea of
Do
drinking
you
coffee
realize that
right
I don't
now-
care?
I did, but I'm
I
trying
don't
to
care,
make
Caleb.
Welcome to Access Sports Weekly here on AccessWDUN.com. Bo Wilson beside Caleb Hutchins this week. He's not on the Zoom call. And Caleb, and I've screwed it up again. I looked straight at you and called you Caleb.
Yeah,
Just go
why
with
do you
it this
keep
time.
doing
Let's
that?
just- Let's just go with it this
I
time.
suppose.
Let's keep going.
We've cut this
not
out so many
Caleb.
times.
No,
It's-
because we didn't cut it out last time. It made it on the
That's
podcast
right.
anyway, so we should just keep rolling.
Seth
Sure.
Chapman in
Yeah.
front and behind the camera.
Not
Welcome,
Caleb.
everyone. Not Caleb.
I am not Caleb.
Maybe you put an arrow above your head and say not
Just say
Caleb.
not Caleb.
Yep, yep. How are you guys?
I'm great. I am Caleb, by the way.
Yeah, you are.
Bo didn't communicate that clearly, but
No,
I am.
So sorry. This is Caleb. And that's Seth. And everybody's doing great today.
Yeah, pretty good.
We had a nice little conversation before we hit record on the show today.
I mean, technically we did hit record, but
We always do. We always
Yeah.
have a good time.
yeah.
So what's happening? Anything new happening with anybody?
Not that I can really think of.
Caleb, congratulations on your award. by
Oh,
the way.
thank you. You
Caleb
were on that
and Bo,
award also.
congratulations
Yeah.
on your
And
reward.
Brian Perkle, by
And
the way,
Brian
who's not on this
Perkle.
show.
Oh, yeah.
I think we have a photo of Brian Perkle in case people don't know what he looks like. You can
You
see
should-
it right here.
Like right here. Here.
He's going to be so mad at that.
No.
Oh, that's fine. Brian
It's-
gets mad at everything. That's fine.
Now, the chop block playbook. So,
Yeah, we had a great time last year at Chop Block, and yeah, it was good to see that show get recognized.
it was.
We had a lot of fun with that.
It was a lot of fun and some good food over at Chop Block Playbook.
Oh, really good food. The fried ribs.
Yeah, yeah. All that stuff was good. Of course, you get to continue the good food on the tailgate
Yeah,
show.
Smokehouse is great.
Yeah.
Smokehouse is
So-
really good. I keep inviting people to the tailgate show at Smokehouse, and nobody ever shows up, and then they complain that they're not getting barbecue. I'm
I
like,
have never
there's
complained.
an invite there. You know, come on by.
That was so cold, Caleb. Come on by if you want to. So anyway, week number 8 of high school football. The largest game on the schedule last week had the largest finish, not in terms of score. Well, there was a few points scored in the game, but double overtime win by Flowery Branch over North Oconee in a key region 8-4A matchup that put the Falcons in the driver's seat now for a first-round home playoff game, Caleb.
Yeah, it does. They've got Cedar Shoals this week. If they get by that, you would think at that point that they would be in the driver's seat, because if they could get down the stretch, North Oconee still hasn't played Jefferson yet. They might still need to beat East Hall, depending on what happens with the East Hall North Oconee game this week. But yeah, Flowery Branch controls their own destiny for the number 2 seed, and we've seen how big of a difference that can make with Flowery Branch the last couple of seasons, where they finished as a 3 or 4 seed, and they had to draw a brutal opening round opponent, whether it was Cartersville last year or whoever. So it can make a difference. One seeding spot can make a big difference in a first round draw. So they are very much in the driver's seat. But that was just a great high school football game, and just a great back and forth game. I thought the two teams were about as evenly matched as you could get. The game literally came down to 1 or 2 plays here or there. North Oconee had a shot to tie it up there at the end of double overtime and just missed. The quarterback and the receiver were just off. So Flowery Branch survived that one, but Jason Ellingham coming back was obviously big. He had a monster game. So, yeah, it was just a great high school football game and really important win there for the Falcons.
Well, it was the biggest game on the weekend schedule in our area, just in my opinion. And now we're getting down to the final 4 weeks of the season. You look at this Friday and then the stretch coming up for a lot of teams. You sent me an interesting email this morning and some of the region scenarios as far as who can clinch a playoff spot, who's not going to clinch a playoff spot. Do we know who will clinch a playoff spot? Do we know this will happen for real? But let's start at Region 867, Region 678. I'll get it right in a minute. With Gainesville in the Forsyth County region, which is a very interesting region right now because those scenarios could just be blown up at any given moment if we try to sit here and figure out who's going to be team 1 through 4.
Right. So just for an example now, Gainesville's in a position, they're playing South Forsyth this week. If Gainesville beats South Forsyth, they're in a position where they could they would be playing for a region title at Denmark in 2 weeks. But there's also a scenario in which, even if they beat South Forsyth, that if they were to lose to West Forsyth, they would still be playing for a region title at Denmark. But if they lost that Denmark game, they might be battling for their playoff lives the following week against North Forsyth. That's how jumbled up this region is right now, that, Denmark or Gainesville could start 3-0 in region play and still not have their playoff fates totally guaranteed going into the last 2 weeks of the regular season. So it's total craziness right now in 6-7A. And there's genuinely right now, I would say there are 4 teams, at least 4 teams who have a very real shot at the region championship.
This region here, if you look at the remaining schedule, Gainesville really has, in my opinion, the toughest schedule out of any team in that region right now left.
Yeah, because you got South Forsyth and West and North and Denmark, and those are basically the top 4. So, yeah, I would agree with that. But, I mean, we saw Central beat North Forsyth last week. We've seen crazy stuff happen in this region. So I don't know that you can definitively say this is a tougher schedule than this one is, because I think that this region is so, so there's so much parity in it that I don't think that it's the hardest region to predict week to week what's going to happen.
When you look at Region 8, 6A, thought process on that, I know the scenarios, I don't think we've got a scenario on that region right now, but if you look at 8, 6A, who's the favorite in that region?
I think it's a joint possession right now between Buford and Decula. I think the way those two teams are playing right now, I think they're both on 4-game winning streaks. Obviously Buford won the state title in 5A last year. Decula's been a semifinalist in 6A each of the last 2 years. So that looks like a collision course right now. Decula, but Lanier's a wild card because Decula just barely escaped by Lanier on a missed extra point at the very end of that game. Lanier could have easily won that, and we'd be talking about it being between Buford and Lanier. And Lanier's going to play Buford in a couple of weeks, so that's going to factor into it. Lanier will have one more chance to kind of have their say in the region title race, but certainly right now it looks like Buford and Decula are on the collision course.
All right, so Habersham Central hosts Lanier this week. Now, Hab coming in 3-4, overall 1-2 of the region. You look at that game and, I mean, does that game stick out as maybe an upset special?
Maybe. I think Habersham Central, they're reeling now off of 2 straight losses. I do think they're going to have to find a little more offense than they found in the last 2 games against Buford and Decula. Interested to see how they match up. But if I'm Habersham, there's no need to hit the panic button if you lose to Lanier, because your playoff lives are still very much alive. And we kind of knew for Habersham Central that the playoff race was going to come down to the Shiloh game and the Central Gwinnett game, and that's what it looks like right now. The win over Winder Barrow was huge. We knew that when it happened. And so now I really think their season's going to come down to the Shiloh game.
So Hab hosting Lanier this week. If they can get past Lanier, they will improve themselves potentially in a 3-seed spot in the region, because you look at Hab, they have Lanier left, and then I think Shiloh and Central Gwinnett.
Yeah, and Shiloh's playing Buford this week. So
that could be interesting. So Region 8, 5A, looking at that region, pretty much Clark Central, which we figured would be in control of this region at 4-0. But then you've got Jackson County, who's sitting there at the 4th spot in the region. Can they hold on to the 4th spot and get into the playoffs?
That'll come. I think the Loganville game this week, I think, is the most important game they have on the schedule all year. I think Jackson County will beat Appalachia. So, that would give them a 3rd region win there. And I think if you win 4 region games, you're getting in Region 8-5, especially when you look at right now who Jackson County's wins are over. That win over Walnut Grove now, which we didn't think was going to be very important at the time. Walnut Grove's improved, and all of a sudden, I think they've got 2 region wins right now, Walnut Grove does. So that all of a sudden is an important win for Jackson County that's going to hold some weight. they've gotten by Johnson. If I would assume they would get by Appalachia. And then, I really think it's going to come down to Loganville. If they can beat Loganville this week, I think the Panthers are in. I still think they have a shot against Greenbrier down the road, so it might not be a lose this game and you're out, but I definitely think it's a win and you're in game. Even if not officially for Jackson County this week, unofficially, I have a hard time seeing them not making the playoffs if they beat Loganville.
So Region 8-4A, Jefferson's pretty much got that region, I say sealed up because I believe they're the best team, but anything could happen. North Oconee, Cedar Shoals, and they are 2-1. Branch plays Cedar Shoals this week.
North Oconee is going to be the last real shot that somebody gets at Jefferson, and that's not for another couple of weeks.
So North Oconee and East Hall also play. Now, East Hall still don't know what the region protocol is as far as the standings go for COVID cancellations. So Coach Perry texted me yesterday telling me that they are actually 4-1 as the forfeits do not count in your overall record. They count as a no contest per GHSA rules.
But we were also told by Stan Lewis and by other people that those do count. The team that has to forfeit has to take essentially the loss in the region. So how does the region record stand up? There are questions to that. I think
that's what I was going to say, because you look at what region you go for region, Lakeview's region, like it's a 13-0 loss. You go to 8A public, and it's a COVID tiebreaker where the team that had to forfeit gets no points, and the team that won gets 15 points. And if it comes down to the end of the season, then who's got more COVID points, I guess, is how they place it. So GHSA has left it up to the individual regions to determine how you score those, either a forfeit as a loss of the region standings or a no contest. Don't know exactly what 8-4A does. But anyway, East Hall still has an opportunity possibly to get into the playoffs in this region.
Yeah, no, they absolutely do. The game this week with North Oconee, let's operate on the assumption that they are 1-2 in region de facto, even if it's not actually reflected in the record. The North Oconee game basically becomes the critical game of the year for East Hall. The way they're playing right now, I think they've got a real shot at North Oconee, and I think that they'll play Flowery Branch tough at the end of the year too. The Madison County game is going to be a must-win for them, and then they're going to have to win one of the two between North Oconee and Flowery Branch. Given that Flowery Branch just beat North Oconee, I'm going to say that the North Oconee game is the one that if I'm East Hall, I'm looking at and saying, we need to go get this one. North Oconee is going to be reeling after that tough loss, so this is a very important game this week for the Vikings.
So Region 7-3A, again, this is one of those regions where you just want to throw up the papers and say, I don't know what's happening, because it's kind of a 3-horse race at this moment. Then you have White County, Signature 1-2, but you have North Hall, Bluff, Dawson, all undefeated. That could change this week, perhaps.
Yeah, Cherokee Bluff and North Hall could both clinch a playoff spot this week if they both win. Cherokee Bluff's at Lumpkin, North Hall's at Gilmer. If both of them win, from everything I've added up, they have both clinched their playoff spot then. I think Dawson County cannot clinch this week. I think they have to wait till next week to clinch, but I'm pretty sure that Cherokee Bluff and North Hall can both clinch playoff spots with wins. And by the way, Cherokee Bluff has a chance to clinch a playoff spot this week, and we haven't talked enough about it, but I mean, huge accomplishment for the third year of a program. I mean, Tommy Jones and those guys, what they've built there at Cherokee Bluff has been really impressive, considering it's just their third year.
No, I agree with that, and I think I said something maybe last week about Bluff, and everybody talks about, the couple transfers they had, transfer in. I really seriously think that Bluff would be where they are right now without any transfers.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree at all. I mean, Shad Dabney was obviously a huge boost.
Yes.
Sebastian Irons has been very good at the quarterback spot for him, but I agree with you. I think if you take him off, maybe they would have lost one game somewhere, but the way they've dominated people.
Yeah, and that's not a knock against Dabney and Irons for
not
coming
at all.
in. That's just the way Coach Jones has built the program from the ground up. Solid footing.
Before we knew that they had Irons and Dabney, we were all saying that we thought this was going to be a really good Cherokee Bluff team. I mean, they have built that program up where they had they have a ton of guys this year who are third-year starters. You talk about the offensive line. You talk about on defense. You talk about at the running back spot with Jaquan Smith and Charles Tolbert. You talk about receiver with Jalen Justice and those guys and Eric Goman. They're a very good top-to-bottom football team right now. The question will be, do they have the depth at this point as a program to make a run late in the season when everybody starts to get a little wear and tear on them. Everybody's been working for several weeks, and then you get into those tough matchups while you're tired and while you're dealing with little nagging injuries here and there. Does Cherokee Bluff have the depth that maybe more established programs like Dawson County and North Hall have to make that run at the end of the year? That'll be the question mark. But in terms of what they've been so far this year, they've been nothing short of dominant.
Okay, so you look at this week's schedule, and it's kind of like last week's. You've got a few big games with meaning, but you have one big game, and that is Gainesville traveling down to South Forsyth because of the meaning in the region standings, and because of the fact that South is coming in off that loss to West last week, and the other fact that South was the predicted preseason champion of this region. So now Gainesville goes to South with their undefeated region record on the line, and if they beat South, they go to the top of the region standings.
They do, and they go into a situation where even if they lose to West Forsyth next week, they could go on the road to Denmark in 2 weeks, basically playing for the region championship. That is where Gainesville will be if they can get by South Forsyth this week. And it's going to be a tough challenge. I think it's going to be the toughest team in the region they've played yet. But I think they can do it. I think Gainesville can pull it off. I really, really do. With what they have running the ball with Naeem Cheeks and Gianni Williams, with how good their defense has been at times this year. We know that there have been lapses in that. But if the Gainesville defense that we've seen be at their best shows up at South Forsyth Friday night, and Gainesville's able to run the ball, I think they can win that game.
I think it's going to be a fantastic game this week between those two. Okay, now let's move on into Seth's favorite part of the show where he gets to actually pick some of his favorite highlights.
Unfortunately, I'm going to be disembodied for this one, just a disembodied voice. My poor camera has died, so I'm sad about that.
Okay.
But you know when it didn't die? When I was shooting highlights.
Hey, there we go.
So here are my picks for the week, guys.
Seth always does a good job picking his picks, selecting his picks and his highlights. And a shout out to not only Seth Chapman, who's the lead guy of our video and photo department here, but Kayla Martin and Lauren Hunter, who are out shooting various games for us week to week. So thank you to all of those for allowing us to get as many highlights as we do. Now to the other favorite part of the show. It's time for
Will Hart, Team of the Week.
I'm going to start it off today just for the standpoint of because we didn't have any discussion. So I'm going to throw the only team that comes to my mind in last week, of which is the Flowery Branch.
I was going to say, I really didn't know where you were going to go here.
Yeah.
This is a wide open week for this, I think.
Yeah, well, I'm going with the Falcons just from the standpoint of how they finished that game in double overtime and the fact that Jason Ellingham playing with injuries, both shoulders bummed up, and he rushes for 222 yards and 4 touchdowns in that win and helps them to a big win over North Oconee. So my selection, my pick this week is Flowery Branch.
That's a really good pick. I agree with a lot of what you said. My pick for the week is going to be East Hall.
Ooh, okay.
Because coming off of 2 weeks of quarantine, having basically 2 days to practice for a region game that they had to win, and Chestatee went in there and gave them their absolute best shot. They had to play the game on a Saturday. It was just a totally perfect setup situation for Chestatee to pull off the upset. And East Hall puts the drive together at the end to win the game and keeps their playoff hopes alive. For that, I'm picking East Hall for this week. So that leaves it to Seth Chapman.
Man, why do you always do this to me?
We can call Jeff if you want. We can call Jeff and put him on speaker.
That's okay. That's okay.
By the way, Chestatee scored late in that game to go ahead, and then East Hall came back on it. I think a minute drive?
Yeah.
To win that game. Great selection, by the way. We have 2 really good selections this week.
So both absolutely wonderful selections.
To select. Do we need the Jeopardy theme song?
I may put it in. I don't know.
This is a harder thing to put up with, this delay, because now they can't see you either.
Yeah,
I know.
So it's just us sitting here silently.
You're like the game
I know.
Show.
I'm trying to fill it with useless sounds of us just talking.
Yeah.
But I think I'm gonna have to go with Flowery Branch as well.
Woo!
I'm gonna go with the Falcons.
Okay.
For that double overtime win, the energy and just the energy at that game, because I was actually able to be there at that one, shooting highlights, and those kids were really, really just incredibly happy after that win, and just it was really awesome. So I'm just gonna have to go with Flowery Branch.
That was a really tense game down to the wire. So yeah, I really, really like that pick. Seth, I don't know if we can do this actually, but can we play the call at the end of that game, that final incomplete pass that won the game? Because Brian Stewart had a phenomenal call of that at the end of that game.
I think we could probably do that, yeah.
The crowd is screaming. They'll move Barnes in motion. Chandler back to pass. Chandler throws down the middle. Got a man open. He dropped it! He dropped it! He threw it behind him and he dropped it! The man was open on the left seam. Chandler threw it one step behind him, and it falls into...
This week's Wilhart Team of the Week, Flowery Branch. The Falcons with their double overtime win versus North Oconee. This week on the Jacobs Media family of radio stations, you can check AM 550 out as Branch will travel over to Cedar Shoals in another big region matchup there on FM 102.9. East Hall traveling over to North Oconee.
Got the whole crew over in the Athens area this week.
Also another big region contest there. And down at South Forsyth, 94.5 FM, The Lake will cover Gainesville at South Forsyth. You can check that out also. Don't forget to go to our Twitter pages throughout the week and on Friday nights, especially at Friday game night, because we give you real-time scoring updates of, a lot of the teams in our area that we have the information on. So check that out as we wrap the show up here. Good show, guys.
I thought it was good.
Yeah, I thought it was
good,
too.
Always fun in here with you guys.
All right, this is Caleb here, and this is Seth there,
Correct.
and I am Bo.
Correct.
You can't see Seth, but he's right there. He's right where I'm pointing.
And on the bottom of the screen is all of our contact information. Okay, guys, have a great week and enjoy week number 9 of high school.